What's good, YouTube? As you can see, I'm sitting here with Mickey Mouse, Mario, the puppy dog pals, and some other characters I don't know. I'm in the living room. Our house is in disarray, or our apartment. We're moving into the home that I recently built, finally, and so I don't have a nice place to record, but I wanted to get these videos to y'all because I promised y'all, and I wanted to talk about this. So last week I did a video, maybe a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago, I did a video about, I guess, explaining red pill, what red pill meant, what red pill represented, what the meaning behind it was, what the true intention or the original intention of it was. And I talked about maybe doing a video kind of outlining signs that a man is a red pill junkie, that he's consuming too much of this content and he might be a problem, so that you can avoid them. What I quickly realized was that it's probably going to take a few videos because that will be one long ass video, and people just don't have the attention spans that they used to have because of this short form content that's coming out now that's really popular. So I'm going to break it up. So this video will be sign number one that a guy is a red pill junkie or consuming too much of this content. But before I start, clearly, I'm not a mental health professional, and neither is YouTube. Content creators on the internet can be very helpful, extremely helpful sometimes, but they are not to replace a professional if that's what you need. Finding a good mental health doctor or therapist is vital if you need one. Please don't just resort to YouTube. Don't just go to YouTube and watch a million videos. That will not give you the tools and the processing skills that you need to help yourself in your real life. Not if you truly need mental health therapy. And to be quite honest, most of us do. Most of us have things we need to work through. So if you're going to use YouTube for your mental health, please use YouTube in addition to getting an actual mental health counselor or therapist. That's why I thank BetterHelp for sponsoring this video. BetterHelp is a network of mental health therapists and doctors dedicated to making mental health therapy and mental health help very easy to acquire and get and have access to. Too often people don't know where to start. BetterHelp makes it easy. You get to talk to an accredited, credentialed mental health professional through phone, through text, through video call, through internet call, on your phone or on your computer in the most convenient way for the most affordable pricing that I've heard of. And financial aid is even available for those who qualify. So if you're interested, if you want to try it, if you've been thinking about it and putting it off, please click the link below. You might find this for you. You might find this not for you. But at least start somewhere. At least get the ball rolling. Now onto this topic. So again, we were talking about signs that a guy is a red pill junkie. The first sign we're going to talk about in this video is that he proudly calls himself an alpha male or a high value male. Even when more descriptive terms or different descriptive terms would be more appropriate, or even if no one's actually introduced those ideas or those particular phrases into a conversation. You often see a man kiss his own ass with these statements that he's an alpha male or high value male. And it's not even contextually appropriate to what's being said or what's being talked about. He introduces these concepts every time he gets a chance. I'm a critical thinker, or at least I like to think I am. Right? And so we have to think critically here. High value, alpha. As compared to what? As compared to whom? Look, not to be holy roller here, but in the Bible, specifically Jesus is quoted multiple times saying something to the effect of, from the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. Or, the mouth speaks what the heart is full of. Now ask yourself this. How can one get full of anything unless they consume it? We're talking about red pill junkies here. When men are spewing these ideas, it's because they come from somewhere. They've consumed these ideas and they're coming back out of them. We often hear this phrase, you are what you eat. Unfortunately enough, we often forget it's not just about food. It's about the content that we take in. It's about the entertainment that we take in. You are what you consume through your eyes, your ears, and your mouth. A lot of these red pill junkies, these men we're talking about in this video, these red pill junkies, start to become these ideas that they hear so much about, this content that they consume so much of. It starts to ooze out of them in conversation, involuntarily, like sweat or pheromones or skin oil. Eventually, this stuff starts to ooze out of them. It seeks an opportunity to rear itself. For example, a guy might see another guy dealing with something on social media and immediately exclaim, well, I'm an alpha male. I'm a high value male. I wouldn't deal with that. Or in conversation, when you're talking about old relationships or your friends' relationships or relationships in general, the point is made that because he's high value or because he's an alpha, this isn't acceptable or that isn't acceptable. When you made no mention of high value, of alpha or superiority of any kind. These red pill junkies often look for opportunities to separate themselves and the way that people think of them versus other people. It's not enough to feel that you're high value by yourself. It's not enough to think that you are an alpha to yourself. You want everyone else to believe it as well. So you assert these ideas so that you can change and manipulate how people see you just in case they didn't get the memo by just being around you. They often forget what's understood doesn't need to be explained. Clearly, if you had to explain to me that you were an alpha or a high-value person, I may have missed it. And one of the biggest problems with this is they don't often see themselves accurately. Their beliefs of superiority and individual grandeur often exclude accountability or an acknowledgement of their effect on others. This is because the value imagined is often over competing strangers. Right? When they're single and they're watching all of this content, they're imagining being high value as compared to a lesser value man. They're imagining being alpha as compared to beta males, right? But once they get out of the dating pool, once they start dating women and start encountering women, especially women who are trying to grow with them in relationships, unfortunately, immediately they lose sight of the competing males because they're no longer competing once a woman has decided that they're the one. So that competitive nature, those power games, that superiority, because it's attached to their self-esteem, still needs to be exercised and still needs to be applied. Unfortunately, it goes from competing strangers to whoever may be unlucky enough to be their partner. Again, the high value imagined is often over competing strangers, but the high value applied is often over their partners. For this idea of value, but they're playing power games in their relationships to maintain supremacy over their partners. But it starts in those conversations. It starts on those first couple of dates, especially if you bring up the concept of high value or the concept of masculinity or alpha or beta. Just ask him about it. Bring it up. Ask him about his favorite YouTubers and their content and see what he says. See if he immediately gets defensive about the things that are shared on those platforms. These guys too often play power games to maintain the sense of superiority that their self-esteem is attached to. That's why this is so dangerous. Because if their self-esteem needs to be attached to supremacy, then what does that say about your self-esteem? Where does your self-esteem need to be for them to feel supreme or better? Everybody talks about narcissistic abuse like every person that suffers from it, but not enough people mention that this particular set of men are more likely to give you narcissistic abuse than any other set of men. The red pill community is growing narcissists like a bacterial culture. It's teaching it. In this community, self-service is taught as leadership and mishandling people is taught as being assertive. Power games become the first language. So again, if a guy starts to proudly call himself or proudly exclaim that he's an alpha male or high value man, especially if you didn't ask him about that, he constantly identifies himself to separate himself from the idea of other men or you in any particular instance with the term value or alpha or anything like that. When a man is verbally asserting his superiority through conversation, it's a huge red flag that he's a red pill junkie and that he might have some very toxic things that he's learning and picking up along the way. These men are to be avoided at all costs. It's just not worth trying to retrain them to respect women or respect other human beings in the same way that they want to be respected and revered. I'm not saying they're beyond help. I'm just saying that it's not your damn job to restore them, especially at the sacrifice of your own self-esteem and your own dignity. Avoid the self-proclaimed high-value man or the self-proclaimed alpha male. Anyway, I hope this helps. This is video 1 of I don't know how many, but follow me at KevVic24 on Instagram. I'll get with y'all later.